Greetings. Thank you for tuning in to my channel. My name is Siobhan. I am of the Blue Ray, also a Source Elder Angelic, and one of the primary guardians of Andromeda. Basically from the Andromedan Oversoul. So I would say maybe about every quarter they have me do a Toltec Oracle reading. There's a couple posted on my channel. This might be like my third one, at least public one. These readings do take a little while longer to do, and plus a lot of the language is not in English, so it's always fun. At least the major words for them, for the deities and the cards and things. When you try to pronounce them, it's fun for me trying to pronounce these words. Anyway, but as I've shared before, probably with the first Toltec reading I did, after the fall of Atlantis, I was one of the elders or high priestess to take a group down to South America. And I actually lived and educated multiple South American groups. There is a mini session on my YouTube channel. However, that whole session was not recorded. But there is a small portion where it actually is talking to one of the guys I was working with in South America, and he was explaining who I was and things like that. If you want to look it up, it is the goddess Abgal. However, when you look her up, most sources you see, they're really not going to say much about her, and then they're going to call her a male. So, interesting. So anyway, as I was stating on yesterday's live with the 1212 gateway portal, definitely feels like we basically reached critical mass to allow many of the 12 DNA strand templates to come online. It is still a process, activating your crystalline bodies, your Merkaba, and your 12 strand DNA. It is still a process. The process is individual. I did share a vision that I was given where I believe we're going to start receiving more direct contact, some of us, with the ultra-terrestrials, which the ultra-terrestrials are above the angelic realm. So, exciting times is like the least of the word. So anyway, one of the messages that I was given that I shared on the live, we shared so many messages yesterday that live was like 3 hours and 24 minutes long, which is a significant angel number. So you probably want to catch up on that or watch the rest of it or watch it. I will try to get it uploaded to YouTube soon. However, one of the things that was being brought up, trying to help people understand more of what it means, what it looks like to move into unity consciousness, and some of the belief systems that we are still clearing. Moving into unity consciousness obviously also includes moving into masculine, feminine, male-female relationship unity consciousness. We are healing a lot of the trauma and what has separated men from women, what has caused lots of wars, what have caused lots of domestic violence, caused lots of deaths. Like, people die because they can't get along in relationships. And this has been strategically done. This is strategically done. And even some of the things I've mentioned, if you have participated or witnessed these things, also understand there is negative ET influence and entities and interference beyond what the majority of us understand or are aware of. Most of the people watching my information are going to be somewhat familiar with this. Some people are going to be just waking up to it. It's always a continuous of waking up, remembering more, integrating more, understanding at a deeper level than you thought you understood the first time. So to expand some more on some of the belief systems they want us to clear between men and women. some of the things that I have witnessed, some of the things that I have experienced, some of the things I've heard other people talk about is, for one, this idea that men and women are not equal. The masculine and feminine energy is both equal and makes up the whole. And then even if you understand the whole concept of true oneness, you cannot degrade one without degrading yourself. Every time you hurt someone else, you are hurting yourself. Every time you love someone else, you are loving yourself. One of the first things I learned in one of my Reiki classes was even your focus on someone, even when we look at each other, when we form these judgments or opinions about what people are doing or even how they're dressed, you are contributing to their energy. So your thoughts, like if you want to uplift humanity, when you see people, when you interact with people, whether it be family, strangers, friends, relatives, neighbors, whoever it is, if your first predominant thoughts every time you see someone or routinely is something negative or thinking negative about people, judging them, I don't like the way they dress, why did they do that, why do they look that way, why are they doing that, they shouldn't be behaving this way, all these negative things. These things, when you think these things about people, doesn't even make you feel good. So then you are taking away from their energy. A lot of us just don't realize that. You can actually weaken people's immune systems by the way the thoughts you're thinking about them. And it's vice versa. People can do this to you. Of course, especially if you're not shielding. Most people don't realize we should be shielding. However, we are one. So whatever you think about other people contributes to the collective of humanity. So when you have a humanity where they're taught to think negative things about themselves and other people, because you're not just thinking negative things about other people. If you're thinking negative things about other people, you are also thinking negative things about yourself. It's just natural. But I shouldn't even say it's natural. It's programmed. It is programmed that way. We are not taught to love ourselves or love other people. So when you're being condemning, degrading, judgmental, these are all energies. These are all actions. These are all thought forms that take away from your energy and those around you. Just say you put it in the trauma bank. So you want to start being mindful of what you're thinking. What's the first thought you think when you interact with somebody? What's the first thoughts you entertain when you see a male, when you see a female? What do you think about? What do you think about the way they dress? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of us hopefully have moved past, the shallowness of judging each other's clothing. But, we're all in our own separate processes. So there is no judgment, because awareness is key to moving forward, expanding, and doing better. Because at some point I had to consider the thoughts that I was having. And that's why I can have the conversation with other people to start being mindful of these things. Even when we're putting each other down. Like, pay attention. How many words, how many labels do we have for men to put them down, to degrade them, to talk bad about them? Like, even the whole sexual thing. Like, these are all mind control traps to separate. And there's like each of us that are born, we come with different gifts, different purposes, different things we experience based on what our purpose is. What is it that we came here to learn, witness, observe, help to heal, correct, realign, integrate, clear? What type of traumas did you come to clear? Because that depends on what type of experiences you're going to have. So mine have a lot to do with integrating and healing the masculine and feminine energy. So I've always paid a lot of attention to how males and females interact with each other, whether they be children with their parents, children with each other, children with other adults, children with strangers, in relationships, things like that. I've always paid attention to how people act and how people feel. And a lot of the ways we treat each other and teach each other does not feel good. Even as a child, it did not feel good growing up thinking that boys are not taught to be responsible for themselves. Like, it's the oddest thing. I don't get it. I didn't get it as a child. Like, where you teach boys that are growing up to be men, to treat women or little girls, talk to them however you want to, call them whatever you want to, grab them whenever you want to, but then you want the females to behave this, I don't even know what to call it, how you want them to behave. Like, this idea of a virgin is weird, because it's like, well, who are the guys supposed to be having relationships with? But you don't want them to be gay, but then you don't want anybody touching the girls. And these are just belief systems, because then a lot of them get abused. A lot of the females are getting abused before they become adults. Some of the boys are getting abused, and it's not even a culture where they can talk about it. And so you have so much abuse and trauma going on, and nobody is healing them. Nobody's comforting them. Nobody's supporting them. So then when they go out and get in relationships, and because all they've experienced is trauma and pain, and they haven't learned how to deal with it, they don't know how to communicate with God, with Source. They're told to read a Bible, but they don't really know how to communicate with Spirit. They've had no healing, and then they don't understand how they create their own experiences. They don't understand how they attract the relationships that they're attracting. They don't understand why they're attracting the relationships that they are attracting. So then when you have people, males or females, because there's a lot of males that get with karmic women, and there's a lot of women that get with karmic men, and they don't understand why. And they're not understanding they need to heal themselves. They need to learn about themselves. They need to create boundaries. They need to know what it is that they like, so that they can actually attract what they like, versus being afraid of what they don't want. Because when they're afraid of what they don't want, the experiences that they've had that they did not like, that caused them pain, or what they've witnessed, they go out and attract that because that's what they've seen. And they don't understand how they're creating or attracting the situations they're attracting. And then after that, they continue to get blamed. They get blamed, or they feel blamed, because they likely didn't even tell anybody what happened to them when they were younger. But then when they go out and attract these type of relationships, they continually reinforce. It gets reinforced to them that they're wrong, or that they're bad, or that they've done something. And people are not realizing the consciousness traps, or the programming traps that are put in place to reinforce trauma over and over and over again. And it's so hard to get out of them once you're in them, especially if you do not develop your connection with Source, because you won't even realize it or recognize it. You won't even realize it or recognize it, or understand who gave you these belief systems. Who taught you to talk down to women? Who taught you to call them names? Who taught you to disrespect them? Who taught you that you can grab on them? Who taught you any of that? Does anybody ever consider where they got these belief systems from? Because they're not natural. They're not natural. Like, even one of the things I witnessed in high school, I had a friend, a very close friend of mine that I would call my brother. And now I realize, looking back on certain things, that some things, like I said on the live, we were put here. We came here to witness certain things, to experience certain things, so that we know and experience what, or see and observe what's going on in humanity that is collectively causing all of this trauma. What is this trauma causing, so that we can start healing it? One of the things that he would do would walk, because, you know, he played basketball, football, and all that. And he would walk me around, like, the halls and stuff. And maybe subconsciously he didn't realize what he was doing, but he would point out different females that him and his friends would run trains on. And every time I would look at them, and I could feel their energy and their shame, and that they've already had experienced traumas. Like, it's like I understood their confusion and why they were even participating in these things. And I would even say to him, like, can you not tell that they are not happy? Like, they don't love themselves. Like, just conversations like that. And he just did not get that. Like, well, they're the ones doing it. No, no. They were abused long before they came to school and met you. And then you started hearing about it on the news, how females, some of them I guess were participating in a train as like multiple guy sex or whatever. And then some of them were getting raped or getting, I guess you could say jumped or something, or they would get cornered and then they would do these things to them. Then you start hearing about that in the news. Let me see some of the other things I've heard of. I don't get the whole adults. Of course, I don't get adults having sex with women. I mean, having sex with children. Adults having sex with children, whether it's males or females. That's pedophilia, no matter, if it's a male or a woman. Because there's this idea that women having sex with older boys, even though they're not grown, is not pedophilia. That's pedophilia as well. But one of the things I would hear about young boys that I went to school with, or guys that I ended up dating when I got older and things, is that a lot of them, their first time having sex was with older girls and likely their babysitters. A lot older than them. Or the older girls would mess with them, have oral sex with them, but just doing things that was way inappropriate. And a lot of times I could always sense that the ones doing these things to other people, and then you hear about children doing this to children, especially if they've been abused by an older relative, even like a brother or something like that, or an uncle, the mom's boyfriend, things like that. And then they would abuse the child, then the child will go to school and abuse another child. I heard lots of stories. And I believe because of who I am and my origin is why I was always hearing these stories, like they would just bring the stories to me. So that basically so source can know and understand and see what's going on, because it's not healthy. And it's not their fault per se, because there is, like I said, a lot of entities, a lot of trauma, but everybody needs healing. Everybody needs healing. So, sorry, what was I saying? Okay, so you would hear about the boys having sex or having, getting oral sex from older women. But then I also started hearing about parents either seducing or trying to have sex with their kids' boyfriends and girlfriends when they come over. Or like a guy would have a group of guys over and they're playing video games or something, and his mom might walk by half dressed or flirting with his friends. And I'm just like, what in the world? Like, these type of actions is totally out of alignment. Now again, do I have a judgment? I don't necessarily have a judgment, but I do have an awareness that for things to go on like this, for you to not have a problem possibly damaging your child emotionally by sleeping around and having sex with their boyfriend or girlfriend, means that you have experienced a lot of trauma that you have not healed. These are entity-driven behaviors where you have not healed yourself. The people involved have not healed themselves. Healing is so important. These things are not okay. And the males and the females need to start supporting and healing each other, understanding that these systems, these mind control systems, were put in place for you to degrade, demean, and hate each other, to keep pulling each other down, to keep pushing each other around. And we have to at some point say no and start looking at our behaviors and our belief systems and making a decision for ourselves instead of keeping up this cycle of trauma and behavior and reaction and just keeping it going. Because regardless of what dark powers you remove out of power, if you don't do your own personal individual work to heal yourself and clear your own consciousness, to start removing these improper, out of alignment, perverted, misaligned belief systems. Like when you start developing belief systems as a child, you have what's called your sponsoring or initial primary foundational belief systems. If the foundational belief systems, if you pick up a belief system And it's one of your foundational root belief systems. I even think they talked about this in that Emotions movie. It was a cartoon. But those are like primary memories, but it's somewhat similar. But if your foundational beliefs are not accurate, are inaccurate, false, not complete, untrue, twisted in any sort of way, it's just like building a foundation of a house. Anything you build on top of it is going to be shaky and unstable. And it's going to create for an unhealthy life that you attract to you that you're likely not going to like. There's always room for improvement. This is not about judgment, but this is about awareness and empowerment. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. This is not about blaming people for how they create or what they create, but it is about empowering them to understand that they have the ability to create something a whole lot better. So do you want pity? Do you want to feel sorry for yourself? Do you want other people to understand your story and know that it was not fair and all these things shouldn't happen? Or do you want to empower yourself as the creator that you are to change your life and get out from up under these belief systems that were forced upon you? You had to accept them on some level, but everybody around you did. But now you have the opportunity to take a step back and start looking at things, looking at how you interact with people. Because how you treat people is a reflection of you. How somebody else treats you, yeah, sometimes you attract some of those things. But often you also attract, like basically put it this way, some of the things you attract, it might not even actually be their natural or predominant way that they behave, but you might have attracted them on a good day or you might have attracted them on a bad day. Because everybody's emotions and emotional state, goes up and down or fluctuates. Now, as you start mastering yourself, you can have it to where your emotional state is mainly up here and it doesn't dip down so low or stay down so long. But it's all about practice. It's all about practice. So plainly, they're wanting us to look at how we treat each other and not to fall into these consciousness traps. Another consciousness trap that I had identified a while ago that I want to mention because it came up today with a friend of mine. Stay in your loving heart chakra. If you're in alignment with Source and you're in alignment with love and light, you don't have anything to worry about or about getting out of alignment, because it'll be easy to get back in alignment because that's your desire to do so. But if you are wanting to be loving, wanting to be light, to the point where you start being afraid of getting out of alignment, afraid of getting in your ego, afraid of anything, then you pretty much put yourself back into a consciousness trap, to where even though you're wanting to be love and light, you have this fear that you're going to fall out or that you're going to hurt somebody or that you're going to do something wrong. And it is best to just stay in your loving space and trust and understand that you have the ability to hear, receive guidance from your higher self. And that it's okay even if you slightly fall out, because you practice getting back in. But if it gets to the point where you have that fear about it, then that's when you start putting yourself back into a trap, because then you start focusing on the fear instead of just allowing and being love. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead with the Toltec reading. Should be an exciting one. So we always start with, it's like different quadrants. So it's the message for the body, the mind, the emotions, the spirit, and the heart. So it's 5 quadrants. So we're going to start with the body quadrant. And basically the question is, or the focus is, what is it that we should be focusing on moving forward in this current energy, with the energy that has entered the atmosphere at this time with the 1212 portal. So, and this is called the cross of Quetzalcoatl. It's a dragon cross, dragon bird serpent god. So the cross of Quetzalcoatl in the first quadrant is Tanakatl, and that means body. And we have the flint card, which is Tecpotl. The flint card, so we'll read what that means. The flint is for the body. So Tecpotl represents the enhanced awareness that, like a mirror, reflects the harmonious existence of the cosmic totality. It also represents the power and wellness that arise from living in a harmonious connection with what is higher, both in its physical manifestation as the universe and in its spiritual dimension as the unifying and sustaining force in the universe. This forces is known among the Toltec as Sintiatl, the sacred unity. So Tecpotl, flint in the body quadrant. The immediate meaning of flint in the body material world quadrant is the need for working and polishing your physical body to achieve a healthier and happier life. However, if we look into deeper meaning, what we see is that some level of rejection is taking place in the way you view your body. Some level of rejection, so that is still the programming of self-hate, rejecting the self. So this is what we want to start clearing: self-hate and hate towards each other, self-doubt, unworthiness. And I know, like, a lot of us have been focusing on this for quite a while now, but we're still doing higher levels of clearing in this area and ejecting of the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever, your preference is or situation is. So it looks to you exactly as the flint does when it has not been worked and polished. The crude flint contains the potency of the tool knife, but it needs some work for its strength to be visible. Your body is a powerful, valuable asset in your life, but just like the flint, until you do some work on your body, you will experience this tool only as a rude and poor expression of all the potential it has within. That is the same for humanity. Humanity has the potential to experience itself at some of the grandest heights. We have not accessed nowhere near our potential. Even your brain, like, you only access definitely less than 10%. The average person might use 3 to 5% of it. So even part of this 12-strand DNA activations that are coming online will be accessing, I believe, nearly all of your brain. Like I said, some of us had already started experiencing this. Everybody's process is different, but the left and right brain hemispheres are connecting as you integrate the masculine and feminine energy, and you will literally feel them connecting in your brain. It will be a literal sensation. It will likely occur over some time. It's not going to be just one day or 1 hour. It could be, but from my understanding, it takes a little time. So it is so common for people who feel uncomfortable with their own bodies to think that their condition is a given fact beyond their control. They feel they are victims of terrible circumstance that they cannot change. The truth is, no matter how negative your ideas about your body are, you can always make a huge difference for the better if you first accept that you can improve a lot and then take decisive action to make it happen. So you are a creator. You create with your thoughts. You can even tell sometimes when you look at people, even if you look in their face, and don't get me wrong, I know some of this is just being able to feel, but you can even get an idea of the predominant thoughts that they have about themselves by taking a look or being aware of the quality of their skin. And that's just one indication. That's not going to be for everybody, but it is an indication. by looking at the quality of their skin. All right, so the next quadrant is the jaguar, which is in the, hold on here. The jaguar Asiatal, which is in the Mati, the mind quadrant. The mind quadrant. So what do they want us to know or focus on about our minds, our belief systems? So the meaning of Asiatal comes from the nature of the jaguar as perceived within the Toltec perspective. It encompasses strength, hunting power, balance, harmony, stalking, patience, capacity for keen observation, beauty, flexibility, and magic. If you get the jaguar card, you are meant to adopt the features of this powerful animal to deal with your world. You will be like a hunter who watches his or her territory with all senses alert in the quest for prey. But like the jaguar, you won't take more than what you need. Your role as a hunter will contribute to the larger scheme of balancing the elements of your world, which are all interrelated. To be able to do this, you will need something much more powerful than physical strength. You need the magical power of the jaguar. You need to start focusing your mind and understanding how you create. It is very important to master our minds and our focus. Jaguar in the mind quadrant means the development of the capacity for deep observation. You should train your attention so it is not just wandering around from one topic to the other with no direction and no purpose. So you want to be aware and focus. Start focusing. As the jaguar, you should be able to watch everything around you, but especially what is important for you with patience, persistence, and absolute focus. As you train your attention to remain focused on what you want to see or achieve for long periods of time, you will enter into a state of mind called heightened awareness. You don't need to worry about heightened awareness or try to achieve it directly. It is a state of awareness that you cannot explain or understand completely. You can only get in there and experience it. Relax your way into it. We try too hard. Just relax and allow. Allowing. The work of focusing attention and expanding your capacity to watch will take you into heightened awareness in a natural way. Avoid becoming obsessed with the idea of heightened awareness because that does not help. Developing your capacity for observation should happen in a natural, relaxed way. You have to practice almost as if you didn't care about it at all. But at the same time, you do care. And your caring is expressed not in tension or obsession, but in calm, persistent, and relaxed work. Allowing. Beautiful, beautiful. So the next quadrant is the emotions quadrant. So what do they want to tell us about our emotions? And we have the flower card, Shakitl. This is the flower card. And the emotions card, Teoli. Shakitl translates from the Nahuatl language as flower and is a term that the ancient Toltec used to refer to their highest abstract concept. It is the closing symbol of the Tanapaholi and the one that opens the new account in the cycle that starts over again and again. From the time of Teotihuacan and even before, the Toltec divided knowledge into many different sciences and specialties, including architecture, medicine, psychology, mathematics, astronomy, painting, poetry, agriculture, time cycle studies, and shamanism. A unique aspect of Toltecatl was the fact that the mathematics-based sciences and the sciences of the soul were not seen as completely separate, but as complementary and reciprocal. The one area of knowledge that was deemed to be superior to all others was in Shakido and Kukado. This important term, which translates as the flower and the singing, was not related to cultivating garden flowers or writing songs, although these two activities were highly valued. The meaning of this philosophical concept is different and deeper than the two words that are parts of its name. The closest translation that I can imagine is poetry. In the highest and deepest sense of that word, poetry is much more than writing rhymes or a romantic endeavor. It is about the magical capacity to transcend the limitations of reason in the physical world, connecting with everything surrounding us in a way that is beyond space and time, transcending towards unity consciousness. So, in the emotions quadrant, Teoli, the flower in the emotions relationships quadrant means that your relationships will be empowered by a greater awareness of what connection means. The flowering of your emotions and relationships happens when you are fully aware of the extent to which you are connected with others. That's exactly why I love to do origin confirmations and also confirm, are these relationships karmic, soulmate, or twin flame? So understanding how you're connected with others is also very beneficial and helpful in understanding what moves you need to make, what type of healing is needed, if karmic cords need to be cut. Our modern culture gives us the painful fantasy that we are isolated from everyone and everything. A constant secret anguish comes from the feeling of separation. But a higher awareness of your existence in the world will let you see that there is no way to be isolated. You have an energetic connection to everyone and to everything around you. The fact that we are not separated but connected to one another could be difficult to accept when you think about your connection with people you don't like and whom you often criticize. Exactly what we started off talking about. For example, you may think you don't have a connection with your father or your mother because you have a lot of complaints about how that parent treated you, or even if that parent was absent. Perhaps you were abandoned, and in your resentment, you think you have no connection with him or her. The truth is, the energetic connection is there no matter what, even if it arises purely from the fact that that parent gave you life. You may try to live in denial of that connection, but that keeps your life energy stuck in that painful area. Shakido in Teoli means that you have work to do. Acknowledge and honor your connections, regardless of what you think about them. Beautiful, beautiful. So, in the spirit quadrant, we have the dragon. So in the spirit quadrant, we have the dragon. Sipactli. The image of the dragon, usually associated with European fairy tales, could seem strange appearing in Toltec lore. In fact, most Nahuatl dictionaries translate Sipactli as crocodile, but the graphic representation in the codices depicted Sipactli with feathers, indicating the capacity to fly and vomiting fire. Hence our translation as dragon. The image of the dragon represents power and may generate fear in those who see it, but its power is not in itself good or evil. In the Toltec vision, the sacred duality is at the heart of both the individual life and the whole universe. The power that the dragon brings can be creative or destructive. That is the key to understanding this symbol. In the card image, we see the open superior jaw of a dragon poised to devour a Toltec who is at the right. But the dragon does not signify only the possible destruction of the Toltec. The nurturing part of the dragon is represented by the breast, the archetypal representation of nurturing life. That is located right below its eye. The Toltec on the right is not afraid, but is offering the dragon some fruit as a gesture of friendship. In the upper right corner, a human being is entering into the dragon, representing both the risk of not knowing how to deal with the dragon and the return to the earth to start all over again. So in the spirit quadrant, the dragon is a powerful call from the Great Spirit. It is telling you that the energy you are wasting in your most disturbing inner and external patterns should be transmuted and used to feed the sacred life task, your sacred life task, your soul purpose. Transmute these energies. I'm going to read that again. It is telling you that the energy you are wasting in your most disturbing inner and external patterns should be transmuted and used to feed your sacred life task. You have to look at the part of yourself and your behavior that you consider the worst part of all. This is your shadow work. What you dislike the most about yourself or about your life. It has been a part of you for a long time, but now the time has arrived to transform it. Naturally changing that aspect that you have dwelled on for so long will not be easy. It is not going to happen by just trying to kill that energy. Yes, we are not here to kill it. We're not here to get rid of it. We are here to love it, honor it, transmute it, nurture it. You should not try to kill the dragon. Your only chance is finding or choosing a sacred task that will bring about renewal and that requires the same amount of energy you are spending on what kills your spirit. In fact, the very energy that you use to spend in your energetic vice is what you will use to fuel your sacred task. Sikpaktili Intioto is the magic of transmuting lead into gold. So beautiful, so beautiful. So our last card is considered a ruler card, the heart card. And your heart is what guides you. Your heart is how you connect to source. Don't get me wrong, you connect through the crown and all that too. But your heart is necessary to be cleared and open to have the highest potential of connection. Your heart should be guiding your decisions. Your heart should be guiding your path and who you interact with and who you don't interact with. Because when you're done playing the game of protecting yourself, defending yourself, you start to receive guidance and practice discernment. Discernment is a much higher energy than protection. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about shielding yourself energetically. But I am talking about when you protect yourself and you cut yourself off from people, you cut yourself off from light and dark, from guidance and discernment. You cut yourself off from everything. And you put your heart in a box and you become numb. And when you become numb, you do not have access to your emotional body, your emotional guidance system. And if you don't have connection to your emotional guidance system, it's going to be very, very, very hard and almost impossible to connect to spirit. So if you are not connected to your emotional guidance system, more than likely what is protecting you and guiding you is your ego, because your ego is your great protector. And it also talks down to you and talks down to you about everybody else, and is always protecting you from all these situations and circumstances that are never going to happen. So, in the ruler card, in your heart quadrant, we have Tonatui, Father, Son. This is the Father-Son card. The sun is one of the most important sacred figures of the spiritual vision of the Toltec. It is often called Father-Son because it is part of the sacred couple Mother Earth and Father-Son, which gives life to all the living beings on our planet. The sun is also the son of the fire that is called Grandfather Fire. Grandfather Fire is the oldest and most powerful of the Pedarios. But in the view of the Rirarika, take any pronunciation that you think is right, because I'm not sure. The sun's power rivals that of the fire. While the fire can bring light in any moment and in any place, the light from the sun reaches much farther, covering the entire land, even though it can only shine in the daytime. The Aztec adopted the sun as their symbol and associated it with the military power. Inspired by the sun, they acquired the strength to overcome all the difficulties they encountered during their long pilgrimage to find Mexico Tenochtitlan in 1325 AD. The Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan and the famous calendar, the Stone of the Sun, testify to the importance of Tenatui in ancient Mexico. Getting the Tenatui card means that all you are seeing and all you will be doing should be inspired by the sun's sacred task, bringing light into the darkness. The most remarkable feature of the sun is its capacity to give light. In spiritual terms, the light of the sun represents life, warmth, clarity, enthusiasm, nurturing, answers, joy, understanding, power, strength, embracing all positive concepts. Getting Tenatui at the center of your reading is a reminder that whoever you are in any moment and any place, Father Sun is always with you, making an effort to bring out the new day. No less important, getting the sun at the heart of your reading tells you that in order to accomplish all the visions, realizations, and tasks that you are getting from the reading, you have to fully acknowledge your own luminous nature as a child of Tenatui, a child of the light. You have to realize that you have the same task as your Father Sun has, bringing light into the darkness. It doesn't matter what kind of darkness you may be facing, your own or that of others. Your task is the same. Remember that you are made of dust and light. You are a little sun. Wherever you go and whatever you do, make sure to support the light. This way, your everyday life becomes one with the life of your Father, and your efforts support its efforts, overcoming darkness and bringing out a new day. When you practice bringing light to the world, when you learn to keep this sacred connection present in your life, this vision becomes more powerful and influential than the ideas you get from television, family, and society in your everyday life. Meaning that when you bring forth the light, when you align with the light, when you heal your heart, it overpowers any programming, any negative trauma, any negative programming, belief systems structured into society that has been done. You can overpower it, you can heal it, and we are doing this as a collective moving forward. This vision about your own nature and your sacred task provides a happier and more powerful meaning for your life, and that feels so good. So focus on that, so that will be key. Focusing on the light, focusing on the goodness, to healing, uplifting, and bringing forward the new earth, because we are in the process of manifesting the new earth. Awareness of what has happened is fine, but put more focus into what we want to experience moving forward. I love you. I honor you. I thank each and every one of you. that was guided to listen to this message and that listen to the whole message and that takes it into their heart and receive further guidance and support from their guides. Of course, if you are guided for an Angelic Universal Regression Alchemy session, I would love to do one with you, as it brings me great honor to assist each and every individual that I assist and their higher self in helping them to establish a greater connection with their higher self, source self, oversoul, spirit guides, free of interference. I love you, I honor you, and I look forward to working with you and talking with you and communing with you in unity consciousness and remembering the truth of who we are. Namaste.